Hey everyone, James here again. I've been in music journalism for over a decade now, and I've written for some of the biggest publications on the planet. And without fail, every single week, I'm approached by a musician or a group of artists who want to know how to get the attention of the press, how to build up a contact list of people who are interested and passionate about their music. And I'm going to tell you the best and the worst ways to do that in today's video. Briefly, before we get to all that, I do want to touch on the state of music journalism, because it's in a really weird place, and in many ways, it's kind of like the Wild West. There's not a lot of money in music journalism, plain and simple. There are not a lot of writers who are making, a full-time living writing about music, and those that do are very rarely making that money covering music discovery, that being new and emerging artists that don't have a giant following of their own. You need to have a little bit of something going for you in order to get the attention of most major music publications. But that doesn't mean that you can't get attention that matters, because there are a lot of websites and zines out there and writers who have Substack newsletters or other kinds of email newsletters that want to write about the new music that they're passionate about and have an audience that is interested in it. I'm just telling you now that websites like Rolling Stone, for example, they need to have stories that get clicks, because clicks are where money comes from in the age of the internet. And if you can't bring clicks to them, they have less and less reason to cover your music. And that's just the way things are. And again, I don't say that to discourage you, because as we'll learn throughout this video, there are a lot of great ways to find great writers who will cover your music in a meaningful way. But just to set your expectations. If you're a new and emerging artist trying to get out there, don't worry about the biggest names in music journalism today. Worry about specific writers and worry about websites that have a really good following. Because there are this new age, this new breed of websites and newsletters out there that are driven by people who care about the writing. People who are donating money through Patreon or through some other kind of subscription service to learn about new and emerging artists. They do exist, and I'm going to help you find them in this video. Back to the reason that we're all here today, how to reach journalists and build relationships with them. And the worst way to do that, the absolute worst way that gets on the nerves of everybody I know in music writing, is by spamming people you don't know with music that they don't care about. Because as we'll learn in a little bit, it's all about relationships, it's all about knowing your audience. And that's true in music marketing as well as music promotion. And when you're trying to reach journalists, you need to know who you're talking to. So the worst thing you can do is just purchase a contact list from a website like Fiverr.com and then blast that 5, 10, or 20,000 person email list with whatever it is you have to promote. Because people in positions of influence will recognize this in a second, and they won't even open your emails. They'll just delete them or mark them as spam, and that hurts your ability to reach them in the future. So avoid taking shortcuts at all costs, because there are a lot of artists doing it, and it ultimately hurts everyone, because nobody likes to see their inbox filled with a whole bunch of stuff that they don't care about. And that makes it less likely that they're going to click on things from people they don't know that might actually be good for them or be good for their publication, because they're just trying to get through all that junk. So if you or somebody you know is trying to get their music out there, by all means, never ever use prepaid contact lists. If somebody claims that they can give you access to influencers at Spotify or in the blogosphere, it's a lie. They might have email addresses, and some of those email addresses may be real, but nobody is getting covered that way. Now you may be wondering, if I claim that these contact lists don't really give you results, why do they continue to exist? Why are people willing to pay money for access to these lists? And that's because people are desperate. The music industry is built on people trying to take advantage of dreamers. And when you have 20,000 emails in a contact list that you can purchase for $5, there is always a slim chance that one of the people on that list runs a music blog that you've probably never heard of, that is willing to post whatever hits their inbox in order to get a little minuscule amount of traffic on their blog. And if that happens enough, if you blast your single out there and you're an artist that nobody knows about, but suddenly 5 or 6 music blogs that you've never heard of post that song, you start to feel good about yourself. You're getting a little bit of attention on the internet from people you don't know, and that boosts your serotonin, that boosts your confidence, and that makes the whole thing seem worth it. But it's not. Because if you're just getting coverage from websites that nobody reads, that is just filled with junk that isn't related to what you're doing and doesn't really have a community around it, it's all worthless. It's all ultimately meaningless, ego-boosting nonsense. And we're not here for that. We're here for actionable results. We're here for things that will actually move your career forward. So again, don't do it. Don't buy into the hype of contact lists. Don't spend money on contact lists. That's just not the way that this works. But let's get into it, right? Like, that's the whole reason that we're here, to figure out how to reach people in the world of music journalism and get the coverage that we want and build relationships that move careers forward. And I'm going to tell you, it requires some work. I mean, there are certain websites out there that you might be able to build a relationship with really quick if you have a good song out there and you have really good press materials ready to go, which we'll get to in a second. But a lot of this is going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take effort on your part to just be a good person, be likable, be cordial, be conversational, be somebody that people want to talk to and talk about. And it's very easy, but it also takes a lot of time. So prepare yourself that this is a project that is always going to be happening in the background of your music career. You're always going to be working on these relationships. You're always going to be working on outreach. You're going to be working on maintaining the relationships that you build, and you're going to be working on being a topic of conversation on a regular basis. But it's not as hard as it sounds, but it is a constant work in progress that you will be doing for the rest of your career. Okay? Now let's go. So the first thing that you need to build these relationships is to make sure that you have all of the materials required to write about and cover your music. That means a good band bio, links to all of your social pages, links to all the platforms where your music is available, links to music videos. You need to have band photos. You need to have everything somebody needs to write about your band, and you need to have it a click away at all times. So every email should have a signature that links back to your website or to a press page that has the photo, the bios, the videos, all of it in one place that it's easy to find. That is the cornerstone of everything you're going to do in terms of marketing yourself online, and it needs to be readily available for anybody to write about your music at a moment's notice. Next, it's time to get into the research phase of promotion. Now, this is very important, and specificity matters. What you want to do is figure out what artists people will associate you with. A good way to do this is to go on Spotify and look for similar acts or related acts that are on the side of your profile. But another way to do it is to think about, when people hear your music, who do they think of? What other artists come to mind? Or who do they think you should tour with? But again, specificity matters. So if you make pop punk music, don't just write down Fall Out Boy, because Fall Out Boy have gone mainstream and everybody covers Fall Out Boy. Everybody knows who that is. You want bands that people who love this genre of music that you make are interested in. So in the world of pop punk, for example, you might write down a band like Bearings or Seaway or Knuckle Puck. And you shouldn't go any bigger than that, because Knuckle Puck is really starting to break out. But those three bands would be a really good starting point. And once you have those three bands, this is where we're going to make a spreadsheet. Right? Make a spreadsheet, and these are the things that you're going to want to look up and put into your spreadsheet. Start with Knuckle Puck and do, on Google, Knuckle Puck News, and write down every single publication that is writing about Knuckle Puck. And you want to make sure that it's people who've written about them recently, not 5 years ago, because staffs change and focuses change and sites die. You want recent news about this band and who's writing about them. So put down all of the website names, all of the authors writing about the band on that website, and any contact information you can find. That means the social media handles, the author email address, and the site submission email address. And if you can't find one of those, that's fine, but write down everything you can. And once you make that list, then do Knuckle Puck reviews, and then Knuckle Puck interviews, Knuckle Puck podcast, Knuckle Puck video review. Get as specific as you can about all the different types of journalism that exist, because these days people are promoting music in a variety of manners. There's the traditional blogs, there's zines, there's podcasts, there's videos, there's Twitch channels, there's all sorts of things. So you want to find as many sources of promotion for Knuckle Puck in the world of music journalism that exist, and you want to make a very specific list about those publications, those authors, those creators, and how to get a hold of them. And when you finish that, it's time to move on to the next artist. Bearings news, Bearings reviews, Bearings interviews, so on and so forth. And you want to continue that on with Seaway. When you have that list, find all the similarities, combine them, make that list, and now we've created what you would call a sales or marketing funnel. It's the big at this point. We have a lot of names on this list, probably dozens, if not hundreds of publications and creators. And what you want to do is start following those people on social media. Follow their Instagrams, follow their Twitters, follow anything that you can find, especially the authors. Now, the big publications matter because some of them have very active social media presences, but some of them just post content. So what really matters here are the authors, because those are just individuals looking for attention just the way that you are. And once you have those people, and you're following them on social media, start engaging with them. Start interacting with them. Talk about the things that they post. If they share an article that they wrote, like it, share it, give them some feedback. Interact with them when they mention an artist that you also love, and see if they follow you, and make note of the people that engage back with you, especially when they follow. And as you do this, you're going to see that big group of people that we had when we made that spreadsheet start to whittle down. You're going to start to recognize the people who are interacting with you on a regular basis. And as these interactions happen, people are going to start to take an interest in who you are and what kind of music you're making. They're going to be like, oh, this is a band that seems like the bands that I write about. And maybe they'll follow you, and maybe they'll even take it a step further and look you up on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever service they like. But they're going to start paying attention to what you're doing. And this is what we want. We want that number of people to get slimmer and more specific and more engaged with what you're creating, because once we do that, then you know who to reach out to. And I know you may be thinking, but I want everyone to cover me. I want a lot of people to be writing about my music, and they will in time. But to get that fire started, to light the blaze that will ultimately consume the entire scene that you exist within, you just need a few people who really care about your music and want to see you succeed. And the way you do that is by building these online relationships, by connecting with people on Twitter or Instagram or other platforms and supporting their work and getting them to take an interest in who you are. And as you do that, and you're making notes on your spreadsheet about which people are the most interested in what you're doing, those are the people that you need to then reach out to. When you have a new single to promote or a new album, you can share it with them in an email or in a DM and say, hey, we've been following each other for a long time. I wanted you to know about this new thing I'm creating. Or, hey, I've got a new song and I was wondering if I could get some feedback about it. Because in that case, you're not asking them to cover your music or write about your music. You're just asking them to give you an opinion. And if they love it, they're going to want to help you. Because at this point, they feel that you have a relationship, a connection, something that they want to build and develop. They want to see you succeed. Just like a great fan, they want to help you get ahead in your career, and they're going to go above and beyond to do that. Maybe they'll pitch you to a bigger publication and you'll get that big exposure that you want. But even if they just share it on their Twitter feed or on their Instagram or in a newsletter or on a blog that you've never heard of but that they really feel passionately about, you're getting exposure from somebody who understands your music and understands you as a person. And as consumers, when we read the writing or see a video or listen to a podcast of somebody talking about something they really love, we recognize that and it makes us curious about that thing. And that's where you start to build a community. That's where you start to build a following. That's where you have your fan base. It all comes back to those relationships. So that's why we build this funnel. That's why we funnel them in to figure out the people who matter the absolute most, the people who are the most likely to take an interest in what we're doing. We get them to talk about our music, and then all the people who like those individuals will notice that they're talking about your music. And then those people will want to talk about it. And then those people, and so on and so forth, until, like my hands are no longer on the screen, your community will be so big because all these people are now talking about your music. But it started with a very select few. People that may think that it's just happened out of thin air, that you just showed up in their life one day, but you didn't. You did your research. You figured out who was most likely to care about what you're doing, and you engaged with them. You took an interest in who they are as individuals as well as creators, and you forged a relationship that then benefits both of you in the long run. And trust me, I said it before and I'll say it again, this is not as easy as it may seem, because there are a lot of artists in every genre, and every single one of them would like a little bit of exposure from somebody that cares about what they're doing. So you're gonna have to work at this for a bit. There'll be some people that you find who automatically check out your band, fall in love with it, and they'll be like, hey, we should do something. They will be proactively trying to work with you and help you build your career. But some of the other people, the more influential types especially, who are inundated with messages and requests all the time, it will take you a little while to get on their radar, but it's worth the effort, because when somebody is writing about, or talking about, or promoting something they really care about, people notice that, they're attracted to it, and they want to know more, and that's where a community comes from. So stick with it. Do your research, build that funnel, whittle it down to the most important relationships, and then build from there. It'll get bigger, it'll grow out of there. And when you do that, you have a career in the making. You have a foundation for something that can last a really long time, because there are people who are seriously ingrained and caring about watching you succeed. And don't worry, if you're still lost, or if you have a lot of questions, or if you want even more tips on how to succeed, that's why I'm here. Music Biz as a channel exists to help you understand and navigate the modern music business. So right now, click the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, I really hope you have, especially if you've made it this far, but if you haven't, click that button. We post 2 to 5 videos every single week, and we want to share them with you. You can also check out our blog. It's called holicsdaily.com. You can check out our podcasts, High Notes and Inside Music, both of which appear on this channel as well. So please enjoy all of that content, interact with us, and if you have questions, ask them. And if you're already a part of our community, well, then you have my sincerest gratitude, and I'll leave you with this. No matter what else you do, take care of yourself, because you deserve it.